Warmed. Warmed bread has been exposed to heat, but not long enough for any meaningful chemical reaction to occur. The surface is dry to the touch and slightly firm compared to fresh bread, but the color is unchanged, pale, soft, and visually identical to what went into the toaster. What has happened is purely physical rather than chemical. Moisture near the surface has evaporated, which creates a very faint crispness that disappears within minutes as the bread reabsorbs humidity from the surrounding air. The interior remains soft and cool. No Maillard reaction has taken place, which means none of the flavor compounds associated with toasted bread have developed. What you have is bread that has been warmed rather than transformed. Some people prefer this level specifically, particularly with delicate white sandwich bread beneath soft toppings like fresh ricotta or ripe tomato, where a full toast would create textural competition rather than support. It is the most forgiving level in terms of timing and the least forgiving in terms of staying power, as it begins reverting almost immediately after leaving the heat. Blonde. Blonde toast is the first level at which the Maillard reaction becomes visible. The Maillard reaction is a chemical process that begins around 140 degrees Celsius, where amino acids and reducing sugars in the bread interact under heat and produce hundreds of new flavor compounds simultaneously. The same reaction responsible for the crust on a seared steak, the color on a baked cookie, and the complexity in roasted coffee. At the blonde level, the surface has shifted from white to a pale gold, and the flavor has moved noticeably from raw grain towards something warmer and more complex. The crust has developed genuine structure and will hold its texture for considerably longer than warmed bread. The interior remains soft and pillowy, creating a contrast between the exterior and the crumb that is mild but present. Blonde toast is the preferred level for most egg dishes. The structure supports a runny yolk without collapsing, while the mild flavor stays out of the way of the toppings entirely. It is also the standard for French toast before the custard soak, where the slight drying of the surface allows the egg mixture to penetrate more evenly. Golden. Golden is where most people who say they want light toast actually want to land. The surface is a warm, even amber. The Maillard reaction has progressed significantly, and the flavor compounds that define what most people mean when they say something tastes toasted are fully present. The crust is firm, audibly crisp when pressed, and will hold its texture for a reasonable amount of time before softening. The interior is warm all the way through rather than just at the surface. The sugars near the crust have begun to caramelize lightly, which adds a faint sweetness beneath the savory toasted grain notes. Golden toast is the most versatile level. It holds up under butter without immediately absorbing it, provides enough structure for avocado or sliced tomato, and is neutral enough in flavor to work with both sweet and savory toppings. It is the benchmark against which most people unconsciously measure every other piece of toast without realizing they have a preference at all. Amber. Amber toast sits at the edge of what most people consider normal and is where personal preference begins to split significantly. The surface has deepened to a rich brown with occasional darker flecks. Caramelization is pronounced, and the flavor has taken on a genuine bitterness beneath the sweetness, not unpleasant but present in a way the earlier levels are not. The crust is deeply crisp and will stay that way for longer than golden toast, making it a better choice for anything wet or heavily dressed that would soften a lighter toast quickly. The interior crumb has dried slightly from the extended heat exposure, which changes the texture throughout rather than just at the surface. Some of the more volatile flavor compounds present at the golden level have cooked off, replaced by deeper, more concentrated notes. Amber toast is the preferred level for cheese on toast, where the bread needs to hold structural integrity under a melted layer without contributing too much moisture, and for bruschetta, where the pronounced flavor and firm texture are part of the dish rather than a background element. Dark. Dark toast is a deliberate choice that the majority of people would send back if it arrived on a plate uninvited. The surface is a deep uniform brown bordering on mahogany. The caramelization has progressed to the point where bitterness is a primary flavor note rather than a background one, and the crust has taken on a dry, almost brittle quality that shatters rather than snaps when broken. Some of the exterior has crossed from caramelization into the early stages of carbonization, producing small black flecks that contribute a smoky, ash-like edge to the flavor. Despite how it sounds, dark toast has a dedicated following and a legitimate culinary case behind it. The bitterness functions as a counterpoint to fatty or sweet toppings in the same way that dark chocolate or espresso does. Marmalade, in particular, whose own bitterness and sugar exist in a similar tension, is widely considered to reach its best expression on dark toast. It also forms the base of the British military's traditional remedy for an upset stomach, where the activated carbon produced by the charring was believed to absorb excess acid. Whether medically sound or not, the practice persisted for generations. Burnt. Burnt toast has crossed from the Maillard reaction and caramelization entirely into carbonization, a chemical process where organic compounds break down under sustained high heat, and carbon is the primary product remaining on the surface. The exterior is black, brittle, and bitter in a way that has moved beyond the complexity of dark toast into something that most palates read as simply unpleasant. The interior may still be edible depending on how long the burning continued and what type of bread was used. A thick sourdough retains a usable crumb longer than a thin white sandwich slice, which can become uniformly carbonized before the outside shows more than moderate darkening. Burnt toast has generated genuine scientific interest in recent years. A 2017 study by the UK Food Standards Agency found that acrylamide, a compound produced when starchy foods are cooked at high temperatures, is present in higher concentrations in heavily browned and burnt toast, prompting public health guidance to aim for golden rather than dark. The guidance was largely ignored. Burnt toast scraped over the sink with a knife is a near-universal experience across the English-speaking world, a small, routine act of culinary salvage that most people perform in private, and almost nobody discusses at the level of seriousness it arguably deserves.